This is the Palin Update on SarahNet Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
And just like with that original Tea Party back in 1773, independents who decided to stand up and speak out because we see what's on the horizon. We see what is at stake here.
Sarah Palin has been a warrior for the Tea Party movement. And for the movement to grow, we need young people involved. Today, we'll talk to Lyda Loudon, just 17. She's the founder of Tea Party Youth. Governor Palin offers her condolences after 19 firefighters die in Arizona. Palin heaps praise on Greta Van Susteren. Independence Day wishes from the governor, and a plea to Washington to stop making things up. And just ahead, our latest edition of Steel Resolve with Sarah Steelman. At just 14 years old, she started the organization Tea Party Youth. Since then, she's reached out to young people across the country, spreading a message of common sense. She's an editor for The Reality of the Times, a public speaker, and a lot more. Lyda Loudon, welcome to the Palin Update on SarahNet Radio.
Thank you. I'm glad to be with you.
Now, you must admit most people your age are not as active in the areas you are immersed in. How does someone your age, now 17, take on something so big as, well, the restoration of America?
It's true that there are not a lot of people my age with similar endeavors as this, but it's a busy lifestyle and it's a different lifestyle, and a lot of my friends don't understand just how important it is that we're fighting for our future alongside our parents and grandparents. So it's something that, my heart is really in and that I work every day to get my friends involved in as well.
And that's great. And you keep harping at them, I'm sure, even those who don't, quote unquote, get it. I talked to Janine Turner's daughter, and I know you know her, and she wrote a book about the Constitution, and similar answer there as far as the friends, and understandable. Kids are doing their thing too, as they should be. But to have someone like yourself, someone that they would probably hang out with in other areas too, to be able to talk to them about our country and how important it is to step up right now is huge.
It is. And actually, I haven't met Miss Turner. I only know her through her reputation. But, she seems like a fantastic girl. It really does set you apart, and it can be challenging. I've actually been bullied when I went to school for a little while. I'm homeschooled, but I was bullied just for being a conservative, not even relating to my organization, just for being a conservative. So that alone can be tough for kids, and it can be even tougher to take a leadership role and be considered a political activist. But you just have to be unafraid to receive criticism and attack for your views and for your efforts, and I'm okay with that. I have thick enough skin.
See that, and I pigeonholed you too right away. I said, "Oh well, you and Turner, you're conservatives. You must hang out."
Even your stereotypes.
Right. Even though California and Texas, not around the corner. Now, your mom, of course, is a great friend of this show, Dr. Gina Loudon. How much have your parents influenced you?
A lot. I grew up. My dad was a senator through most of my childhood and a representative when I was born, and I guess there was a lot of political influence in my life, but that's not why I got involved so much. We got involved with the St. Louis Tea Party back when we lived in St. Louis, and they realized that there was really no one out there rallying the young people to get active and attend the tea parties, when really the whole goal of the Tea Party is to give America a better, brighter future with more options and more freedom, and to hold the government accountable so that they can, give America a better future for the future. But the people of the future, the kids, so few of them are taking part and participating in helping out the Tea Party and politics in general. So I guess along with members of the St. Louis Tea Party, my mom and dad, of course, we kind of launched it all together, and it was a youth organization. So I was the kid they knew in the St. Louis Tea Party, one of very few kids in the St. Louis Tea Party at the time. So that's, I guess, how it kind of found me more than I founded it.
You talk about reaching millennials. Can you relate to the Palins? Willow Palin just turned 19. Piper is younger, but, getting into that age group soon. That's the target group. And, I notice families like the Loudons, like the Palins, you're reaching out to people that you can truly relate to in that respect.
Totally. There are more and more young people getting involved in politics, I've noticed. And I'm finding more and more youth organizations are being started, and they all have the common goal of reaching young people who don't really know what's going on in our country and what's happening to our generation and what our generation is going to face. And we are targeting them and trying to get them involved and active and educate them to understand, civic responsibility, how to vote for those of them who are voting age, and how to be involved in preserving the future of their country.
I think you just answered part of this. I was going to ask you, what are the challenges you find when talking to young people, and them not knowing what's going on is probably the biggest one. But what else? Is it about, trying to let them know, hey, I'm a conservative. I worry about the Constitution, but I also am into music and TV and movies and entertainment. I think they try to, separate things here, saying, well, if someone's into politics or government, they hear these words and then they think, well, she must not, hang out like the rest of the kids.
Well, the biggest challenge, I would say, is dealing with closed-mindedness. Closed-mindedness was really glamorized and admired. And our generation, I think, is seeing a turnaround where we are a little bit more open-minded than the past generation, but there's still some of that left in us, that closed-mindedness, that, you can't really talk to someone or influence someone if they're super closed-minded and they think it's their way or the highway. So when I talk to young people who are, not that way, it's very, easy to help them understand what they can do for their country, the importance of being involved. And so that's easy. Those are the best kinds of kids. But I come across a lot of young people who automatically assume that everyone in the Tea Party is, old racist men, and that's how they see it, and they can't see it any other way, and they can't possibly imagine that young people just like them are getting involved in politics, making a difference, and that they need to be. So, there's both situations all the time, the open-minded ones and the closed-minded ones, the ones who are willing to listen to, Tea Party conversation and consider the possibility that maybe it is important that they're fighting for their future as well. And then there are the ones who immediately brush it aside, and they require a little bit more coaxing, I guess, to really to get them to listen to our message.
And then do you see the floodgates open sometime when they do finally listen? Is it almost like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense? Because, I remember, back a little older than you are now, maybe 18, 19, I remember with my friends watching the Republican National Convention one year and basically sitting there and hearing the candidates and saying, wow, we agree with everything they say, seems to make perfect sense, as opposed to the Democrat convention where you're like, well, I don't really agree with that, and that doesn't sound very American, and things of that nature. So do you see that when people do finally get it? Does the light bulb go on and then they go, oh, yeah, that does make sense?
Often, yes, sir. And I think we're creating new political warriors and cultural warriors every day. The problem, I think, is what young people have been influenced to believe through culture, through film and music and everything else, all other forms of media, have told them that the conservatives and the Republicans are the stodgy old white guys who, like I said, are racist and closed-minded and hate, everything that isn't a typical white American. And that's such everything tells us that in our culture, if you really think about it, when it's totally not the case. But that's what young people believe because they haven't been taught otherwise. So many of them see it as that way and can't imagine that there are actually a lot of really cool conservatives out there and Tea Partiers out there and Republicans even out there who aren't like that at all. But it is really cool to see those light bulb moments, like you said, where young people realize that it is hugely important that they get involved in our country and in this political and cultural war that we're facing. And some of them even go on to start their own youth organizations. And I think that's how Tea Party Youth is really fun, is watching what the members of it and the people who are involved in it early on and who've gotten involved in it over time, what they've gone on and done. I've seen members start their own organizations, their own chapters, and really influence their peers through powerful ways. So it's been really fun to see that.
And the young people you talk to who are not homeschooled, I guess they're getting a lot of misinformation from teachers, too, which a lot of times makes it hard. You know, here's Lyda Loudon coming around saying, well, it's this way, really, but, you know, they're changing the curriculum and the textbooks and telling you one thing, and they're supposed to believe you over someone who they were told to listen to. That's been a big problem in this country of late. You know, for all the great teachers out there and all the great professors out there on campuses, there are so many that are not teaching fact, but instead pushing opinion and agenda. Absolutely,
and I actually witnessed some of that personally in my school. I'm not going to lie and say everyone was perfectly accepting of my views. Not only was I criticized by my peers, but there were also weird things that would go on with teachers where it really felt like they hated me because of my politics. And they did. Some of them, honestly, in some cases did. They immediately, you know, I remember one time I even got I answered a question that was, I guess, you answer with a paragraph kind of question, and it had something to do with free markets or something, and I answered it the correct way, but it did sound like a conservative answered it, and the teacher marked it off, and I was very unhappy about that, and he had previously expressed a disliking towards my political views, which is, you know, it's whatever, it's to be expected. I was in the liberal school, but still, you know, a lot of young people, a lot of young conservatives especially, have faced a lot worse and a lot more pressure and a lot more, I guess, disdain from their peers and their professors and their teachers, and it's bad. That's closed-mindedness. You know, everyone thinks the conservatives are, you know, closed-minded and exclusive and, you know, automatically mark people off if they disagree with them, when really I don't experience that nearly as much as I experience it the other way around. The liberals, I even had communists in my schools, and they really hated me. So yeah, there's a lot of that, unfortunately, and I think that's another big problem in our culture. It's not just our media that's telling us that the conservatives are a bunch of stupid old guys. It's sometimes even our teachers and our textbooks. It's horrible.
Well, God bless you for standing up to that. I mean, a lot of people would cave, and I mean, there's nothing more off-putting than a grown man, you know, taking out his political agenda on a young girl because, you know, you don't drive a smart car or whatever his weird deal is. But all right, tell me this. What I really like about what you've been doing is you keep it contemporary. You go into topics like music and entertainment. Governor Palin had said we need to infiltrate pop culture, and I agree. Is that a key to let young people know conservatives are everywhere? I think a lot of conservatives in the past, the approach has been, well, just ignore everything that's out there as far as contemporary music or media or movies or television. But instead, shouldn't we get involved and turn it around just like the rest of the country?
I think that's huge, and that's vital, and that's actually becoming more so than politics. My personal mission is the culture war, because that, I think, is what is going to make or break this generation's success. And by success, I really mean ability to prevail and to carry on, you know, America's legacy as a country. I think the culture war is huge and vital, and it starts with film and television. Because that's where a lot of the, I guess, indoctrination is that we've received before. And there are a lot of behind closed doors conservative groups meeting up and plotting to do, you know, new amazing things. And I think we have a really amazing opportunity to really turn around the culture through film, through music, through TV, through radio, etc. And we need to go right to the heart of our country and right to the heart of the future, which is the young people. And we need to influence them through the culture. So that's my personal war right now. It's what I'm working on.
Your family was featured in an episode of Wife Swap. We covered that experience extensively from your mom's perspective, but what was it like for you and your siblings?
It was. I don't think anyone has much fun with it quite as I did, because my parents were, I guess, very harshly attacked. They really were. And there are always the people out there with the death threats and the general threats and the criticism for every single move you make. As a conservative, if you go on a national TV show that is watched by, I would say, mostly liberals, they received horrible attacks for pretty much every line on the entire show. So it was, I guess at some points, it was a little bit challenging because of that from their perspective, but my mom also had a very hard time on her end during the swap, and I can't go into details about that, but I didn't have a very hard time with it. We just had to, hang out with the other mom for a week, and she was different, but, I'm very accepting, so it was fun to be around the whole crew that was filming it and everything. They were a group of really fun people, so I got to know all of them and hang out with Angela, was her name. And I had a lot of fun. My siblings, I think, had fun too through all of it. They didn't really have to experience the side where, all the criticism came in, all the hateful tweets and all the hateful Facebook comments and whatever. So I think they were pretty chill about it too.
Yeah, and you handled yourself very well on that show. You did a great job. What are your plans? You're welcome. What are your plans for the immediate future? You said the culture war, but for you personally and perhaps down the road, any other goals out there, and what do you have on tap coming up now?
Right now, actually, I'm working with my organization and several other organizations, and we're planning a really big, exciting event that I can't go into details about just yet, but it's going to be in Florida, and it's going to be just a celebration of freedom. And I could maybe talk about that later, but right now I'm not at liberty to do so because we're still in the beginning planning phases. And so that's, I guess, my main focus right now in the immediate future. I'm also doing a little bit of work in the film industry right now. That's kind of, since that's where the culture war is, I'm going right into the heart of that and working on some things on that end, because that's the industry that I love, and that's what I have the most fun with, and what is going to influence our culture the most, I think, in the next generation. So those are my main things right now. I'm, of course, still writing. That's my day job, is writing, and of course I'm a student, so keeping busy with all that stuff.
And college?
Yes, that's happening too right now. I'm just getting college credits while I finish up high school. So you can do those things at the same time when you're homeschooled. It's pretty boss.
Yeah, there you go. And how can we read your work and keep up with what you're doing?
Well, you can go to at Tea Party Youth on Twitter, or at teapartyyouth.org is our website, and then I'm at Lyda Loudon on Twitter.
All right. Well, she loves God and guns, family, and she's reaching out to youth. Very admirable work, Lyda Loudon. Thank you so much, and say hi to Mom and your great family.
Thank you. Will do. Thanks for having me on.
teapartyyouth.org is the place to go for more on Lyda Loudon and all the great work she's doing to get young people on board as we continue to fight for our exceptional country. After 19 elite firefighters lost their lives in Yarnell, Arizona, battling a wildfire, Governor Palin issued a statement saying, "Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims of the tragic fire in Arizona. God bless the hero firefighters who gave their lives to save others." Meantime, our friend Congressman Paul Gosar has been a great leader in Arizona through this tragedy, keeping people up to date as well as leading prayers and participating in memorial services. Now back at Fox as a contributor, Governor Palin gave some kudos to colleague Greta Van Susteren this past week. Palin saying of the Fox host, quote, "I sure respect Greta Van Susteren's work ethic, independence, and ability to stay on top of so many current events that viewers count on her covering," unquote. America turned 237 this past week, and Governor Palin wished America well by quoting the Declaration of Independence, as well as musician Lee Greenwood. And this past week, Sarah Palin tweeted, "Must I repeat, quit making things up." Palin talking about government officials who lie first and think later, or not at all. A photo of John Kerry climbing onto his yacht in Nantucket showed he was on his boat during the holiday weekend while Egypt imploded. The State Department originally denied that Kerry was out sailing. Sarah Palin said the concern here is the cover-up. Palin writing, quote, "The State Department categorically denied Kerry was on his boat, yet CBS had pictures to prove it. Goodness, there is no need to lie, even on such a quote-unquote little thing as the location of a government leader during a military confrontation happening in real time. Benghazi, ring a bell? There still isn't anyone in the media who'll find out where our commander-in-chief was that night. Come on, Obama administration. It's no big darn deal that Kerry was on his boat. We expect and deserve to assume that our highest-ranking public servants, to whom we the people have given the most responsibility, are always working, even when they're clearing their heads and breathing in some fresh air on a yacht, or sweating away stress on a basketball court, or yucking it up with pals on the fairway. Let's trust they're always preparing for the proverbial 3 a.m. phone call." Unquote. It's not the yacht, it's again the lies to Americans. To see any of Governor Palin's posts in their entirety, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page, or you can follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA. Now, our weekly commentary, Steel Resolve. Here's Sarah Steelman.
Thanks, Kevin. If anyone is paying attention to the economy anymore, the advice should be, wake up, America. We are in deep, deep trouble. Maybe, just maybe, President Obama is coming out of his big government-induced sleep since he postponed the employer mandate found in Obamacare, illegally, I might add. The administration probably had a heads up on the abysmal jobs report that was just issued. Although some pundits are predictably spinning it as positive, the numbers indicate otherwise. The total number of payroll jobs in the economy is at 135.9 million. That is still 1.6 below 5.5 years ago at the beginning of the recession. In June, 195,000 new jobs were created. That means it will take 11 months to get back on pace to where we were in 2007. Here's the other problem. All of the net new jobs to the June payroll were part-time. There were 360,000 new part-time positions created, which means full-time employment decreased by 240,000. Since the beginning of this year, only 130,000 full-time jobs have been added to our economy. The rest of the jobs, 557,000, have been part-time. Employers have been hiring part-time due to the heavy financial burden of Obamacare. Perhaps Obama finally heard the loud voice of the people rejecting Obamacare, and he is waking up. Let's hope so, or it will soon be lights out. This is Sarah Steelman for Sarah Net Radio.
Tune in again next week for another segment of Steel Resolve right here on the Palin Update. And don't forget, the Palin Update, including Steel Resolve, is now on demand and available for download. So just head to SarahNetRadio.net, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on SarahNet Radio. Visit SarahNetRadio.net for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, follow along on Twitter at SarahNet Radio, at Kevin Scholla, and at Sarah_Steelman. We're on Facebook, so you can like SarahNet Radio and like Kevin Scholla. Palin Patriots, our feature on SarahNet.net. That's where you can check out the writings from our great panel of contributors, including Martha Zoller. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Just go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Scholla. I want to thank Sarah Steelman and everyone here at SarahNet Radio. Thanks to Lyda Loudon. And thank you for listening today. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.